friends. Namaste to our Sunday edition of Words of Wisdom Gyan Ganga on our Virat Hindustan Sangam show, which we have every Sunday at 8 p.m. on our various social media channels. It is not limited to YouTube, Facebook. It is on Twitter, Periscope, Spaces, and many of our podcasts and other social media channels. So we welcome to a very interesting program today. We, as you all know, it is 23rd of January, which is the birth anniversary of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, and today we are all celebrating the 125th anniversary of this great leader. And today's topic is unraveling the hidden truth of Netaji. And as you all know, Dr. Swamy, our patron president of Virat Hindustan Sangam, will be speaking. We have another important high-profile guest, Chandra Kumar Bose, who is the grand nephew of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. He will be joining us shortly. There could be a slight delay in his joining because he's been hopping from one program to another in the city of Kolkata, for the celebration that is going on. I have to thank our viewers for the last episode, which crossed more than 60,000 viewers. I have to thank my co-host Arvind Chaturvedi and Ramesh Swamy, and our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Swaminathan, Tejas Navalgul, Rakesh Gadgi, Ishwar Iyer, Ajesh Nair, and Vishal Mehta for their support to put this program together. So with these words, it will be over to Dr. Swamy, who has been writing extensively, speaking on this subject, and have a lot of information on Subhash Chandra Bose. And it is over to Dr. Swamy to tell us more about Netaji and the background, and tell us many things which many of our viewers may not know. And our guest, Shri Chandra Kumar Bose, also will be joining us shortly. Over to Dr. Swamy.
Good of Chandra Bose to say that he'll squeeze in between two programs to come to our. He's in big demand for today, and especially after whatever has happened, every channel wants to interview him. But he said he will make it, and anyway, I have worked on this subject quite a lot, and so I'll keep the matter moving till he comes. I would like to say why did I take so much interest in Subhash Chandra Bose? First of all, something which I have not publicized, but now since we are sitting in a kind of a familiar type atmosphere of the VHS, I can tell you that my mother's brother married a Bengali girl, and her sister was married to the Chaudharys, who were also related to the Bose family through marriage. In fact, one of the Chaudhary's daughter was Krishna Bose, who was Krishna Chaudhary when she was not married, and then she married into the Bose family. So the connection with the Bose in terms of getting first-hand knowledge, in terms of being that has been over the years, and I always thought he was daredevil, and that always appealed to me. And so Subhash Chandra Bose was something where I wanted to investigate, and then the mystery of his disappearance naturally made me more interested in it. So I first got into this when I was a member of the Lok Sabha in 1977. And at that time, I came to know that Subhash Chandra Bose had been given a lot of gold, diamonds, jewelry, everything. And he had put it into caskets and kept it for the purpose of fighting the war. But then what happened is that he left it with the Japanese and who were his allies. And then after the war suddenly ended, Subhash Bose then, of course, made his escape from Burma and Thailand and Singapore and on to Vietnam. where the last stop he had was, there way we know for sure, was in Vietnam. And then from there, he's supposed to have flown to Japan, to Taiwan for refueling, and then on to Tokyo. But then suddenly the teleprinter, not the official Japanese government, which still was the old government before at that time. It was in 1945, August 18th, and they were devastated. They had agreed to surrender, but the new government of the Americans set up was not there at that time. So the idea was that the Japanese would fake his death. This is my surmise. And so they put out a press release on 25th of August. That is the 7 days after it. Now, why this 7 days, I'll explain in a minute. And they said that Netaji has been killed in an air crash in Taiwan. Now, that is Taipei was the capital of Taiwan. And but no one went further into this till the Americans took over Taiwan in the first week of September. And then the CIA was asked to examine, and they put a report which was kept secret for a long time till the Justice Mukherjee Commission was set up by the first BJP government on the direction of the Calcutta High Court. So the Calcutta High Court directed our government to set up a new commission and go into the new various facts that have come. And in that, they expressed doubts that he was killed in the commission of Justice Mukherjee expressed doubts about his being killed in Taiwan, and that was the first time this was raised. And although I must tell you that in 1991, when Chandrasekhar was Prime Minister, one day he called me and said, I want you to do an investigative work. The Japanese are saying there is a place called Rinpoche Temple where Subhash Chandra Bose's ashes are kept, and they want us to take it away. So could you go into this matter? And he said, I'll give you 2-3 of the secret files. You can have a look at it. And when I said, why not the whole file? I can read all of that. So he said, no, I'll give you only 3. And those 3 helped me to make up my mind that we should not accept their ashes as Subhash Bose's, because there was enough material which I can't disclose because of secrecy to say that it could not be Subhash Chandra Bose's ashes. So that background was there. In 1977, earlier, I ran into a story which that time was told to me by K.R. Malkani, who used to be the editor of Organizer. And he told me that there was a ICS officer who was by the name Damle, and he had brought Subhash Chandra Bose's jewelry in caskets from Japan and given it to Nehru, and he had been telling friends about it. Now, my father-in-law, that is my wife's father, Mr. Jamshed Kapadia, he was ICS. So, of course, he was retired at that time in 77. But I was in Bombay and I stayed there only. And I asked him whether he knew Damle. He said, of course I know him. Damle is, I don't know where he's living now, but I know him very well. So I said he lives in Warden Road, which is near where we were staying. We were staying in Nepean Sea Road. And he said, you just get me his telephone number, I'll speak to him. So he called him up and said that my son-in-law wants to meet you. Will you meet him? He said, of course, send him along. And of course, I was that time famous because of the emergency and what I did in Parliament and so on. So he was quite happy to receive me. And when I went, I asked him that I believe that you were responsible for bringing the caskets big trunks of jewelry of the INA and given it to Nehru. So he said, "How do you know this?" So I said, "Somebody told me, and I'm just checking whether it's true or false." He said, "No, no, it's absolutely true. I had gone to California to do some research work on an exchange program, and I got a telegram from the office of Jawaharlal Nehru that I must immediately proceed to Japan. And when I protested, saying, 'I've just come, I have not done my research yet,' the second telegram said, 'You'll be dismissed from service if you disobey this.' So he went, and he was given the trunk, told that it has to be delivered directly to Jawaharlal Nehru. So when his plane took off and landed in Delhi, in those days, none of you will remember this. I remember the airports of that time. There used to be at most one flight a day, and you literally walk down, and then in about 30 yards there would be the airport door. So, but the then Secretary General of the Foreign Ministry, he actually climbed into that flight and told this Damle that you give me this trunk, which was, of course, was so big that they had to remove 2-3 seats, rows of seats to put it in. And so he said, "No, I've been told to give it to the Prime Minister. I'll give it only to the Prime Minister." So they seated him in the car with the trunks, took him to Tinmurti, and it was given to, presented to Jawaharlal Nehru, who was waiting for them. And so then Jawaharlal Nehru asked for a hammer, and he broke the lock, and he opened it, and he saw diamonds, jewels, all sparkling, but with a lot of soot and so on and so forth, perhaps because he went through the war area or something. And then he shut it down and then asked Damle, "Anything else?" He said, "No, these are the 2 trunks that were given to me." So he said, "Then you can go." After that, nobody paid any attention to it till I heard this story. And I went back and told Moraji Desai. Moraji Desai, of course, they were like Nehru. So he said, "You better be right, otherwise you're this thing," because I already had addressed a press conference and all that. And so he called up Damle, and Damle confirmed it, everything. And so one day Moraji went to the archives, and in the archives he located the trunk. And the trunk showed by the card stuck to it that it had been delivered to the Prime Minister's residence in Tinmurti and stayed there for 1 year. After that, it was sent to the External Affairs Ministry, of which Jawaharlal Nehru was also the minister, and there it stayed for another 2 years. And then after that, it went to the archives. So when Moraji went to the archives, he saw that there were some gunny bags in which was said to be the trunks. So he said, "Okay, get it open." He opened it, and he found nothing but mud, small rocks, pieces of wood, and so on. That means that whole those two has been emptied by Jawaharlal Nehru, because that's what it was there. Now, we can proceed further on it, because after that, the Janata Party began to have a doubt. Welcome, Chandra Bose.
Swamy, yeah, Mr. Chandra
Good
Bose has
evening.
joined us.
Namaskar. Sorry, I'm a little late. I got delayed.
I know you must be the bridegroom today.
Exactly. But bridegroom without a bride. That's the thing.
So, well, I mean, your aspirations are your bride, and you got her.
Right, sir.
So I'm just pointing out the background, and I'll take another 5 minutes and then hand it over to you. And I know you have to leave at 8:40 also. I also told them that I'm very distantly related to the Bose family through the Chaudharys, through Krishna Bose, who was herself a Chaudhary, and through my uncle. which I've kept it more or less secret so far. But anyway, the I so the after that, nothing much happened except it has come in Parliament of Lok Sabha. All this halla gulla that we raised about it. Samar Guha was known to be a fighter for the truth. So it is in this context you have to see. And I'll have to make two more points and then more in the form of questions. And then hand it over immediately. Second thing is, in the Khosla Commission, a man was summoned whose name was Jain, Shamlal Jain. What was his occupation? Stenographer. Whose stenographer? Jawaharlal Nehru's stenographer. When? 1945 to 1948. So this was a person who was summoned by Justice Khosla. And Justice Khosla asked him a number of questions, cross-examined him. His point, that is Shamlal Jain's point, was that on the night of December 26, 1946, he was summoned by Jawaharlal Nehru, who was then, interim prime minister or whatever they were called. And he, along with Asaf Ali, who was sitting by, asked him to, at 11 o'clock at night, he phoned up Shamlal, asked him to come right now with your typewriter, with a carbon and two sheets of paper, one for copy. So he says that when he went there, he saw Jawaharlal Nehru. He who put his hand in his pocket and took out a piece of paper. And that piece of paper was a translation of the Russian, of a Russian letter. And it said it was from Joseph Stalin. And it said that I have got the custody of Subhash Chandra Bose. Tell me, what is your attitude towards him now? So that was the letter which he said this to Khosla. Khosla has recorded his interrogation, or whatever you call it, interview, and put it in the appendix, but never dealt with it. Just so that people forget it, because the appendix is a huge amount. Who's going to go through all this? Nobody will raise it. Now, so Jawaharlal Nehru then told him to make a clean copy, because it had a lot of crumpling and all. This clean copy of that. With that, he addressed a letter to, he told the stenographers to write to Attlee and say that rascal Stalin has just informed me that he's got Subhash Chandra Bose in his custody, probably for blackmail. And therefore, I want to tell you that he is a war criminal, not for us, but for you. That is telling the Attlee that. And therefore, you have to deal with this problem. So that letter was typed, and the carbon copy was taken over by Jawaharlal Nehru. And the carbon itself, Jawaharlal Nehru took it and tore it into little pieces and put it in his wastepaper basket. And then the letter was then, he himself took it, he himself stuck some stamps on it and put it in his pocket. So must have delivered it the next day. I don't know whether he went by post or whatever other means, because Jawaharlal Nehru had the capacity to send it through people. But anyway, the fact of the matter is it reached Attlee. And Attlee then acted in conjunction with Jawaharlal Nehru in dealing with this problem, according to what has come out. Now, the issue is, why is it that the stenographer's version was not subject to further cross-examination? And they made his life so miserable that Shamlal Jain he used to live in Meerut after retirement. He sort of just went underground and he was not available. And now when I traced him to Meerut. He had already passed away. So therefore, that was the time when we have a first indication that he went to Russia. Second thing is that Subhash Bose from Bangkok landed in Saigon, and in Saigon he went by another plane where to Dalian. I don't know whether Jagdish Shetty, when I went to Dalian, you had also come or not.
Yes, yes, I
Uh,
had come.
yeah, and I asked the Chinese for a copy of any correspondence, etc. They said no, the Russians were in charge of Manchuria. They've taken it all away, so we have nothing. So the Russians did have Subhash Bose's custody because two visitors were sent by Jawaharlal Nehru, and both of them were later on rewarded. One was the High Commissioner in London, Mr. Krishna Menon, and the other was a professor of Oxford, Dr. Radhakrishnan. And Radhakrishnan became vice president, later president, and Menon became the defense minister and was a great buddy of Jawaharlal Nehru. Now, I think, frankly, we have not yet seriously asked the Russians to part with evidence. If you ask Putin, he will say, no, I have nothing, because he knows it will implicate the Nehru family, and he is very close to the Nehru family. So we have to keep this in mind and see that. So this is one. Second thing which I will address, and then I'll hand it over. I will address our valuable guests today this question, that Narasimha Rao, and I held a minister rank position with Narasimha Rao's government, had decided in 1992 to award Bharat Ratna to Subhash Chandra Bose. And it was duly signed by the President Venkatraman. And so Bharat Ratna is to be awarded to Subhash Chandra Bose. But the family, and here we have a member of the family, I mean a real member of family, not roundabout one. He must tell me whether this is correct or not, because this is what Narasimha Rao told me. He said that the family is refusing to accept it because the award is written as posthumous, and they still don't have any confirmation that Subhash Chandra Bose is no more, and therefore they will not accept this award. So it is still lying there. No new Bharat Ratna once given, and till it is accepted, nobody can remove it. So it's a part of a thing that has to be completed. So I think that now, with Subhash Chandra Bose being in his 125th year of birth, after birth, one would say the probability is very, very high that he is no more. In which case, I think the family should, it is my opinion, the family sentiment is more important, they can decide. But I think they should accept this, and there will be another big ceremony for that. And there will be another way for bringing Subhash Chandra Bose. We have got Subhash Chandra Bose photograph hanging in the Central Hall of Parliament, and we need now this Bharat Ratna, which Nehru has got, Sardar Patel has got, Ambedkar has got, many others have got. But the man who really was responsible for creating the climate to make the British want to run, which is what the archives are now showing, his getting Bharat Ratna would actually enhance the reputation of Bharat Ratna more than his own, because he is now such a hero, and after so many years and how many disinformation against him, he's still the hero of all generations of India. And therefore, on this note, I'll hand it over to Chandra Bose and say, please tell us what is your sandesh on this occasion and how should we go forward in commemorating Subhash Chandra Bose.
Thank you, sir. Jai Hind. Today is a day that I think 135 crore population of our great nation has been waiting for. There has been many movements. Movement to declassify his files, movement to know the truth about his disappearance, movement to establish his ideology in present day India. I've been writing a book which I hope I would be able to complete towards the end of 2022. The relevance of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in 21st century India. See, the battle for India's freedom, according to me, started way back in 1857 with the Sepoy uprising of Mangal Pandey.
Yep.
Then there were many revolutionaries like Shahid Bhagat Singh, Khudiram Bose, Binoy Badol Dinesh, Rajguru, and many, many others whose names also we are not aware. They were all prepared to sacrifice their lives by going to the gallows for India's freedom. We had Mahatma Gandhi's non-violent movement, which had its own impact on British imperialism. But today, the documents that are being released from British intelligence archives, a remarkable job has been done by one Dr. Day, who has written a book, The Liberator of the Indian Subcontinent, where he has actually put forward papers of British intelligence. The person who was in charge of the British forces during the Second World War in India was Field Marshal Auchinleck. Field Marshal Auchinleck has submitted a secret file to his superior, at that time was Viceroy Wavell. And he has written to Viceroy Wavell. Wavell papers are now gradually getting released in the British archives. It is very clearly stated by Field Marshal Auchinleck that the British forces, British Indian Army, Air Force and Navy are no longer trustworthy to the British High Command. How did this actually happen? The British forces during 1940s was around 25 lakh strong. Out of that, the British component or the actual British officers and soldiers were only 40,000. The rest were all Bharatiyas, Indians. So, Field Marshal Auchinleck's fear was that the Bharatiya component of the British armed forces were no longer trustworthy. How did this happen? Actually, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, the visionary that he was, he actually had, envisaged that this is bound to happen. You see, the Indian National Army had a 60,000 strong army with officers and soldiers. Now, obviously, it cannot really defeat the might of the British Empire, the might of the British forces with 60,000 strong. But he had realized that the psychological impact that it will have when they fight on the Imphal border, at the Kohima border, this would have tremendous impact on the British, on the Indian component in the British armed forces.
Right. I think
Sorry, we are having some. No, I think we are starting.
Yeah. Then the subsequent Iron trials, which were held at the Red Fort in early 1946, completely destroyed the loyalty and allegiance of the British forces to the British High Command. That's the time Britain realized that they have to relinquish India. Now, the battle for India's freedom was for an undivided India, united India. It was also for Purna Swaraj, Mahatma Gandhi had also given a call for Purna Swaraj. Another national hero, Desh Bandhu Chittaranjan Das, he also fought for Purna Swaraj. If Netaji would have returned to India, we would have got undivided India's, united India's Purna Swaraj. It is unfortunate that he could not return to India. The country got divided. Purna Swaraj nahi mila, we got dominion status. See, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was the first Prime Minister of undivided, united India.
Yes.
And with due respects to Mr. Nehru, he was also a first, but he was the first Prime Minister of divided dominion of India. So with due respects, this is a fact of history. It is not that, my love for anybody or hate for anybody can change history. History remains the same. So today, in the context of Subhash Chandra Bose's ideology, what are the lessons to learn? What are the lessons to learn from this man? You see, he had given a slogan, Chalo Delhi. He had told his forces, Chalo Delhi, aur Lal Kille mein jaake Tiranga Jhanda aapko lehrana hai. That was not possible for obvious reasons. The Indian National Army had to retreat. Japan, who was giving logistic support, food supply, had to surrender. They were compelled to surrender. As you know, atom bomb was dropped by the Allied forces, America, in Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Japan surrendered. But till today, distorted history has been spread around. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and the Azad Hind government and the Indian National Army has not surrendered till today. Only a battalion of the Indian National Army had surrendered in Manipur, but not the army itself. They continued their battle. Netaji had said, we disarm for a period to again assemble again and fight the war for independence. Now, I would like to state, certainly a main reason was Japan surrendered, but Indian National Army and Azad Hind government was already established on Indian soil at Moirang. Half of Nagaland and Moirang was under the dominance of the Azad Hind government for a period of 3 months. The historic day, 14th of April 1944, when the Indian National Army defeated the British forces on Indian soil for the first time at Moirang, Manipur, and hoisted the tricolour on Indian soil on 14th of April 1944. This history has been suppressed. It is time this history is documented. You see, independence for even one day is independence. 3 months, Indian National Army and Azad Hind government were present in Manipur. Netaji had given instructions that you continue the march. You know that song that even today when we hear that song, our blood boils. Kadam kadam badhaye ja, khushi ke geet gaye ja, ye zindagi hai qaum ki, ye qaum pe lutaye ja. With this song, the army was told you continue the march up to Delhi, up to Red Fort and hoist the national flag. But it was not possible. One was, of course, the surrender of Japan. That was a reason. But there is another seminal reason why Indian National Army had to retreat. At that time in 1944, the Congress leadership who was sitting in Delhi, they did not support the Azad Hind government. They did not support Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. They joined hands with the British. Along with the British, they opposed Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, the first Prime Minister of undivided India. They opposed the Azad Hind government. They did not support the Indian National Army. We lost an opportunity. If that time the Congress would have come forward, entire nation would have risen. There would have been what happened in 46 would have happened in 44 itself. Right from Kanyakumari to up to Karachi, there would have been a revolt in the British armed forces. people would have come out on the streets with Netaji's photograph saying Jai Hind, which happened in 46. But unfortunately, we missed that opportunity. India could have attained undivided India's freedom and Purna Swaraj, complete independence, under the leadership of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in 1944 itself. But we missed that opportunity. However, in 47, we got Dominion status. We partitioned Bengal. We partitioned India. If Netaji would have returned to India, India would not have been partitioned. Partition on religious grounds was not the solution. Who is going to protect the Hindus who are left on the other side? They were, as you know, there was a massacre. We could not protect them. Who is going to protect them? So if we would have remained united, we could have protected the Hindus. We could have seen communal harmony is maintained. That was the effort of the Bose brothers. My grandfather Sarat Chandra Bose and Subhash Chandra Bose both strived for communal harmony. They realized that partition based on religious grounds is not going to solve any problems. Till today, we find divisive politics, we find communal politics continuously being spread across the country. So that is why I have written a letter to the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji. We have appreciated the efforts made by the NDA government since 2016 by declassifying files, although the IB files are yet to be declassified. Although we find certain other secret documents which are in the state of Orissa are still classified. I don't know the reasons for it. There are obvious certain valid reasons. But we need to take a holistic approach to resolve this question of 18th August 1945. I would appreciate the subject was discussed prior to I joining this meet, but I heard a little bit. Dr. Subramanian Swamy was stating that we really don't know what happened to our leader. And he was given a Bharat Ratna. Why was it turned down by the family? You see, Bharat Ratna certainly is the highest civilian award given to Indians, Indian nationalities, national icons. But don't you think, sir, it has been devalued? Too many people have been given the Bharat Ratna. Of course, you said if you give it to Subhash Bose, again, the value of Bharat Ratna would rise. But I think we have diluted the Bharat Ratna to a great extent. And at that time, we could not accept it for the simple reason that posthumously it was given, as it was not known for sure that Netaji had perished in 1945. So how can we take it posthumously? But then, apart from that, Bharat Ratna hasn't been given to Mahatma Gandhi. Bharat Ratna, Mahatma Gandhi is above Bharat Ratna. And we also thought, and it is not only what the Bose family thinks, Netaji belongs to the nation. Netaji belongs to the people of our country. And these are not my words. Netaji himself told this to my father, Amionath Bose, who was extremely close to his uncle Subhash. He had said, my uncle jokingly had said, that once India is free, you will become Prime Minister. And we would all be in your cabinet as ministers. So Subhash told my father, Amio, that see, if you have the capability and the expertise, you might also become the Prime Minister. But if you don't have the capability, you will not be a peon in my office. So, so this is what Subhash thought. So Subhash belongs to the nation.
All right. All right.
We have some sound problem. We'll try to restore.
Please come back.
Voice was frozen. You continue.
Thank you. Although the Bharat Ratna was awarded, an effort was made by Narasimha Rao government, we appreciate that. But unfortunately, I think both Mahatma Gandhi and Subhash Chandra Bose, they are above Bharat Ratna, as the Bharat Ratna, unfortunately, has been given to too many people who may deserve, may not deserve. I don't wish to get into that argument, but I think it is not meant for national icons. A person who was known as the hero of Asia by Mamoru Shigemitsu. You see, Mamoru Shigemitsu was the foreign minister of Japan during the Second World War. Later on, he became the deputy prime minister of Japan. My father had written a letter to Mamoru Shigemitsu in 1956 that I would like to visit Tokyo and I would like to pay my respects to you because I have heard a lot about you from my uncle Subhash. So Mamoru Shigemitsu wrote a letter, a handwritten letter back to my father. I have got that letter, the original letter with us. He wrote, "Dear Mr. Amyonath Bose, I am honored to correspond with the nephew of the hero of Asia." So Subhash Chandra Bose was not only the liberator of India, he was the liberator of Southeast Asia. He was the liberator of nations in Asia who were all fighting for a cause, who were fighting against the British imperialist power for their freedom. So this was a man who was influenced by the teachings of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda's character building ideology, Swami Vivekananda's spiritualism. Subhash Chandra Bose was greatly influenced by Swamiji's spiritualism. He in fact accepted Swamiji as his spiritual guru. The Swamiji was his spiritual guru and Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das he had accepted as his political guru. He was a devout Hindu. You see, he used to visit the Dakshineshwar temple, Kali temple in Calcutta. When he was very disturbed, when during the Congress working committee sessions, there were a lot of issues, he used to quietly go to Dakshineshwar without informing anyone. And he used to sit there and meditate through the night. Early morning, he used to return to his house at One Woodburn Park. So this was a man. He used to get great strength by meditating. And so this spiritualism in him actually made him move forward. But as he believed that all religions he respected. Today, if you see in his Indian National Army, the 60,000 soldiers that he had, who are these 60,000 people? Do you know there was not a single Hindu, not a single Muslim, not a single Sikh, Christian, Buddhist or Jain? Then who were these 60,000 soldiers who fought for our motherland? They were Bharatiyas. He could establish all communities and religions as Bharatiyas. This Bharatiya concept of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose must be imbibed, implemented, understood in 21st century India. Today the nation is breaking up and I blame the political leadership for this. You see, the common man is not really interested in doing divisiveness. The common Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, they are all united. It is the political fraternity. All political parties, I am not singling out any single political party. All political parties and their leadership have encouraged divisive politics, vote bank politics, and communal disharmony. I think the time has come. We need to save the concept of India. The concept of India is unity through diversity. But let us just not make a statement. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose practiced what he preached. What he thought that Bharatiyas must fight together. So he actually implemented its concept in the Indian National Army. So friends, we can continue discussing on the life and times of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. But time is short. There is another program that I have to attend. So we would again discuss. I am very honored that you have given me this opportunity to say a few words, to share my thoughts on Subhash Chandra Bose, his concept of Bharat, his concept of Bharatiya. You know, this has to be understood. And I have appealed to the Prime Minister that you are a tall leader. You must come forward. You must rise above petty politics. Unite the nation based on the concept of Subhash Chandra Bose. Today we have inaugurated his statue. Netaji has arrived to Delhi. Netaji said, Chalo Delhi. He is now at India Gate. He is adorning the canopy, which was once, it was housed by the King George V. Netaji has dislodged King George V. The British Empire is finally gone. So there stands Netaji tall in front of India Gate. But you cannot really respect Subhash Chandra Bose by constructing a museum, by restricting his gigantic personality within the four walls of a museum. You really cannot honor Subhash Chandra Bose by erecting and unveiling a statue of him. You can only really honor Subhash Chandra Bose by practicing his ideology, by accepting the man what he stood for. Then only we would really honor Subhash Bose by uniting the nation, by uniting all communities as Bharatiyas and taking India forward. Inclusive development can never happen unless you are inclusive in your ideology. So let us, on 125th birth anniversary of the liberator of India, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, let us salute him. Let us salute the 60,000 soldiers of the INA who did not hesitate to give up their lives. Let us pay respect to 26,000 soldiers who were martyred for India's freedom. So India is free, but we need to maintain that freedom. Netaji wanted political, economic, and social freedom. We have probably achieved political freedom, but we are a far cry away from attaining social and economic freedom. We need to work towards that. Let us work towards India that Netaji envisioned. With these words, I thank all of you. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Well, just before you leave, I'd like to remind you that Attlee had come after ceasing to be the Prime Minister to Calcutta. And at that time, there was no governor appointed. So the Vice Chancellor of Presidency College, I think, was made as acting governor. And he held a dinner meeting for Attlee. And in that, a question was asked of him that you won the war and Gandhi lost the Quit India movement.
Yeah.
How is it that still you were in haste to leave India and go? Is it because Gandhi's ideology and his satyagraha and so on had overpowered you? Or was there some pressure from some foreign power? He said, no. There was only one reason we left, and that is Subhash Chandra Bose and nothing else. This is on record. It can be produced because it was a speech given. It's there in several newspapers of that time. And this was from Clement Attlee, who came to India and to address a meeting in the Presidency College. And there he said this publicly. So there's no doubt about this factor that but for Subhash Chandra Bose, the British would not have packed their bags and run. Second, we now know that the Indian freedom started with formal freedom started with October 21st, 1943. And I think our history books should record that. And of course, we need to set this question at rest once for all if all the papers are declassified, and that is that Subhash Bose did not die in a plane crash, but he died in the Soviet Union, for which we have now enough evidence. Only now people are just making indications, but there's plenty of evidence, some of it which I can't disclose also because I've given my word that I will not make it public unless the government makes it public. But I can show it to you. So therefore, let's not, the work is not over, what you started. And I must say to the credit that many of us in the middle had forgotten about Subhash Chandra Bose in the sense. It's the family, people like you, who kept
you.
the thing fire, and you took a tough stand where compromise was offered to you, positions were offered to you, you rejected it. And he said, nothing doing on this issue, there'll be no compromise. So this is a tribute to you and your family, and you have been particularly
Thank
very
you, sir.
very articulate spokesman, and I think we are very thankful that you came here. And we don't want to hold you any longer because we know you have another engagement. As
Thank you,
long as,
sir. Thank you.
yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Right.
On behalf
But
of Virat Hindustan Sangam, I wish to thank Chandra Kumar Bose ji for having joined us. Our program will continue, but we are very grateful for you to have given this insight to our viewers, which are across 125 countries, and our viewership goes from 70,000 to a lakh. And today is a big show because we are on various social media channels. Thank you, Chandra Bose ji.
thank
बहुत
you,
बहुत
sir.
धन्यवाद.
Thank you. Jai Hind.
धन्यवाद.
Jai Hind.
Dhanyavad. Dhanyavad.
Jai Hind.
Go
We'll
ahead.
continue our show. Dr. Swamy, you can continue
Yeah.
after what he has said, and we will have a further discussion on various other aspects. There's been a lot of comments from our viewers, and our
Yes.
viewership across the various channels is very much rising, and we can see from the comments. Dr. Swamy, you can please continue.
You see, Subhash Chandra Bose was no ordinary individual because he had gone to England to study, and then he appeared for the ICS exam and he passed it. And when he was to be taken for the refresher course, that is when he said, India is not free, I cannot join this service. So he gave up what today you may not understand the significance of ICS. But those days, it was considered the position, the service in which an Indian aspired to go if he could, because there were a series of competitive exams which he had to clear. And so here is a man who had shown from the very beginning. And second, at no stage he made any compromise. For instance, he went to Germany, he met Hitler, and Hitler spoke to him in a manner which made him unhappy. This is recorded. And therefore, he immediately asked Hitler, would you help him to leave Germany and perhaps go to the east? That's how he left by submarine, German submarine, which took him to the Cape of Good Hope, which is in the bottom part of South Africa. And there then he moved up, and in the middle of the ocean, choppy ocean, the Japanese submarine had arrived, but it couldn't get closer because it was so choppy. So he was about one swimming pool apart. I mean, that means about 50 yards. And he got out of the bouncing submarine, which he came by, swam, and then entered the Japanese submarine and then went on. Now, this kind of bravery, very few people have, and he demonstrated it. He maintained accounts very meticulously. That's why people gave their gold, their diamonds, their jewels, which of course now is with the family of Jawaharlal Nehru. But the fact is that he demonstrated that. When he was president, he was the one who said that in the beginning, India must have planning. People say, oh, Jawaharlal Nehru brought in planning. Jawaharlal Nehru had nothing to do with planning. The first resolution of Congress party was in 1938, when Subhash Chandra Bose moved a motion that when India becomes free, India will have planned economic growth for the first 5 decades, that is for first 50 years. So that it was that basis when people started studying what is planning, how to do it, and so on. So when we became independent, become 5-year plans, all these things became very easy because we had already been doing this. Similarly, on his concept of the military preparedness. So he he was an intellectual too. He was just not a man of bravery. So we have to educate all this, because our school books and college books now need to reflect the true nature of Subhash Chandra Bose, which we had forgotten. Like Sardar Patel has been forgotten. Now slowly it has come back. And unfortunately, Subhash Chandra Bose had Patel had his party was in power in Gujarat for many years. So through that was kept alive. But in the case of Bengal, because the communists took over, and they hated Subhash Chandra Bose because they were with Stalin, and at that time Stalin had teamed up with the British, and so because of that, the vulgar cartoons and so on which they brought. So in this context, we have to see that how he had withstood all this, and even in the last moment, the only miscalculation was the double cross by Joseph Stalin, according to me. Otherwise, he had all the plans ready, and the British themselves knew that. And that's why Attlee said it is because of Subhash Chandra Bose that we decided to leave. Now, one of the document files which can't be released, which Chandrasekhar orally told me, was that it would implicate many important Congress leaders, that they were complicit with the British in seeing that Subhash Chandra Bose, if possible, is eliminated or reduced to such a situation that he ends up in prison somewhere. This is the kind of conspiracy that was carried out. And we know that even when he defeated Mahatma Gandhi's candidate was defeated in an open poll. Those days they used to have, parties used to have polling. And in that poll, he defeated Mahatma Gandhi's candidate, Pattabhi Sitaramaiah, and won, and he won not once but twice, and he became president. But they ensured that he couldn't function. All the working committee members refused to cooperate with him. Those were nominated by on quota basis. All that reason is why we now need to rewrite the history of Indian freedom movement in giving up. I would say Mahatma Gandhi has contributed by building a all India political party, and that was necessary. And he realized later on, Mahatma Gandhi, that by choosing Jawaharlal Nehru, he had made a very big mistake. And therefore, in the last will and testament, his private secretary has produced Pyare Lal. He says that Mahatma Gandhi had decided that Congress party will be dissolved because it has served its purpose, and two parties will be created, one led by Jawaharlal Nehru and another led by Subhash Chandra Bose. This is something which the British didn't want. And on the next Sunday, we are having on the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi, because that is 30th January. So there I will bring out many, many facts which I have collected from government records, from the trial and all that, to show what perfidy went in to see that Mahatma Gandhi did disappear, and the blame is put on somebody else. It's not correct that Godse did not shoot him. He shot him. But whether he died of those bullets or some other bullets, why we don't know, because no postmortem was done. So there are many things which will come out. So our history now, with the new generation and with this new independence of thinking in terms of not being slaves to one party, but being able to vote in parties and vote out parties, today we are in a position to get our true historical thing. So I've said enough now. Let's see what you people have to say.
डॉक्टर स्वामी, मुझे आपसे विनंती है कि तीन मुद्दे जो सुभाष जी के बारे में आपने बताया, एक जो आईएनए ट्रेजर के बारे में, और एक वो जैन साहब का जो आपने जिक्र किया था, वो और खास करके एटली के बारे में, ये 3 विषय एटली जो कलकत्ता आए थे, ये तीनों विषय हमारे दर्शक आपसे हिंदी में जानना चाहेंगे शॉर्ट में, खास करके वो ट्रेजर, एटली का जो लेटर और एटली हिंदुस्तान में आए थे जब, तो आप अगर हमें दर्शकों को बता सके तो बहुत अच्छा रहेगा, काफी लोग हिंदी में जानना चाहते हैं।
ठीक है। पहले जो धन इकट्ठा किया था सुभाष चंद्र बोस, जब वो जर्मनी से आए और सिंगापुर में आए, तो उस समय सारे लोग इतने उत्साहित हुए और सब ने पूछा सुभाष बोस को कि हम आपके लिए क्या कर सकते हैं। तो उन्होंने कहा जो लड़ने के लिए तैयार हैं वो आगे आए, जो लड़ने के लिए कोई विवशता है, कोई मजबूरी है, तो वो धन दे हमें। तो उन्होंने डब्बे डब्बे खड़ा किया, लोगों ने अपने जेवर उतार करके, महिलाओं ने जेवर उतार के, लोग जिनके पॉकेट में जो पैसा था वो लगाए, सब उन्होंने उनको दिया। और ये अनेक जगह में हुआ, कोलंबो में हो, अनेक जगहों में हुआ। तो सुभाष चंद्र बोस के जो रूबीज, डायमंड, जो हीरा, ये सारी चीज़ों को उन्होंने एक अलग से डब्बा में रखी थी, और जो सोने की चीज़ थी उन्होंने दूसरे एक अलग डब्बा में रखी थी, कि जब सारी अन्य चीज़ जो हैं वो ख़त्म होने के बाद इसकी हम उपयोग करेंगे। यही जापान के उन्होंने जापानीज़ को सेफ कीपिंग के लिए, यानी सुरक्षित रखने के लिए दिया था। और यही इंटेलिजेंस ब्यूरो और जापान यानी युद्ध को हारने के बाद उन्होंने ही गलती से बताई हमारी सरकार को कि सुभाष चंद्र बोस के 2 बड़े बड़े यानी कैस्केट्स हैं, इसको आप हम हिंदुस्तान भेजने चाहते हैं। जैसे रिंको जी का जो एशेज हैं उसको भी भेजने के लिए कहा था, बट हम लोगों ने उसको माना नहीं था, चंद्रशेखर गवर्नमेंट ने माना नहीं था। वैसे यहाँ भी इन्होंने आग्रह किया कि भाई इसको आप ले जाओ। तो जवाहरलाल नेहरू को समझ में आ गई और उन्होंने डामले को कहा जाके लेकर आओ, और डामले ने मुझे खुद बताया था, तो इसमें कोई संदेह नहीं है। और मोरारजी देसाई ने आर्काइव्स, नेशनल आर्काइव्स जो है, वहाँ जाकर खुद देखा, वो डब्बा खाली था, उसमें मिट्टी थी, पत्थर थे, लकड़ी थे, परंतु कोई जेवर नहीं था। तो इसीलिए ये जो इश्यू है इसको दोबारा हमें करना चाहिए। इसमें पार्लियामेंट में 1977 में हमारे लोकसभा के रिकॉर्ड्स में बहुत है, प्रेस में बहुत है, तो इसको आधार बना करके पता करना चाहिए कि ये कहाँ है। और इसीलिए मैं समझता हूँ कि सुभाष चंद्र बोस की स्मरण में उनके लिए जो हम भी जो भी बनाएंगे, जो भी इमारत बनाएंगे, जो भी हमें करनी है, उसके लिए इसमें से सरकार को भी साधन मिलेगी। अच्छा, तो ये है जहाँ तक जो हीरा और सोना एक्सेट्रा। दूसरा आपने कहा कि ये जो श्यामलाल जैन हैं, ये कौन है और इनका क्या है। मैंने क्या कहा था अंग्रेजी में। श्यामलाल जैन स्टेनोग्राफर थे जवाहरलाल नेहरू के, और जवाहरलाल नेहरू पहले तो आईएनए के नाम पर वकील बनकर पहुंचे। वैसे ज़्यादा वकालत नहीं की, परंतु पब्लिसिटी में बहुत हुआ। लेकिन उनके लिए एक स्पेशल ऑफिस दिया गया था दरियागंज में, और बाद में तो वो उनको प्रधानमंत्री की शपथ भी दिलाई गई थी ऑफ द इंटरिम गवर्नमेंट। परंतु उस समय जब वो गए थे तो वो श्यामलाल जैन किसको कहते हैं, उनको बुलाया गया था खोसला कमीशन के सामने, 1 मैन कमीशन। और वहाँ खोसला तो बिल्कुल पक्ष में थे, ये जवाहरलाल नेहरू के, वो तो ये तो सबको पता है। और उन्होंने उनके सामने उन्होंने उनसे बयान ली थी। तो उस बयान में उन्होंने ये कहा था कि एक दिन रात को दिसंबर 26 1946 को मुझे फ़ोन आया था जवाहरलाल नेहरू से और कहा कि तुम क्या कर रहे हो? उन्होंने कहा मैं सोने के लिए जा रहा हूँ। इसे नहीं, नहीं, नहीं तुम तुरंत आ जाओ। इसे फिर मैं कपड़े बदलना पड़ेगा। इसे नहीं, नहीं, नहीं आप पजामा में ही आ जाओ। लेकिन साथ में एक कार्बन और 2 सफ़ेद शीट भी लेकर आओ और तुम्हारा टाइपराइटर भी उठा के लाओ। तो ये सब लेकर वो वहाँ पहुँचे जवाहरलाल नेहरू के ऑफ़िस में, जहाँ असफ़ अली भी बैठे हुए थे। उनके सामने उन्होंने बात की थी और कहा इसको कि मैं मेरे पॉकेट में एक ये पर्चा है, ये आई है, ये किसी ने अंग्रेज़ी में ट्रांसलेट करके लिखी है, ओरिजिनल रशियन में है। तो ये जो अंग्रेज़ी में हाथ से लिखी है उसको टाइप कर लीजिए। तो उसने पहले उसको टाइप किया, तो तुरंत उसको ले लिया। उसके बाद उसने कहा कि अब एक चिट्ठी का डिक्टेशन देता हूँ एटली को। और उसमें उन्होंने और श्यामलाल भी कहते हैं जस्टिस खोसला को कि वो चिट्ठी को मैंने पढ़ा, उसमें इतना है कि स्टालिन नेहरू को कह रहे हैं कि आपका सुभाष चंद्र बोस मेरे कब्जे में आ गया है और इसके साथ क्या करना है। यूएसएसआर, सोवियत यूनियन और इंडिया की दोस्ती के लिए हमें क्या करना है। तो उसको लेकर इन्होंने एटली को चिट्ठी लिखा, जिस चिट्ठी का कॉपी जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने अपने हाथ में श्यामलाल जी को कॉपी रखने नहीं दिया। एक कॉपी बना था, वो खुद उसको ले लिया। तो उन्होंने अपने मेमोरी से क्या उसने पढ़ा है ये लिखकर उसने और चिट्ठी जो है जो एटली को लिख रहे हैं वो भी मेमोरी से उन्होंने लिखकर कमीशन को दिया। अब उसमें स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक्स हैं, ये है वो, तो लोग कहते हैं ये सब बकवास है, नेहरू को तो अंग्रेजी बहुत अच्छा आता था, ये कैसे स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक होगा ये सब। एनीवे बात जो हुई वो ये कि उन्होंने कहा कि मुझे ये बताया गया है, इन्होंने इस एटली को लिखा कि ये रास्कल स्टालिन ने मुझे अभी संदेश भेजा है कि सुभाष चंद्र बोस उनके कब्जे में है और मुझसे पूछता है कि क्या करना है उसके साथ। तो मैं कहता हूँ कि सुभाष बोस तो वॉर क्रिमिनल इंग्लैंड के लिए है, ब्रिटेन के लिए है, तो ये आप ही कदम उठाइए और मुझे मेरी कोई इसमें मदद चाहिए तो बता दीजिए, परंतु आप ही इसको उठाइए स्टालिन से बात करके। तो ये 3 लोगों ने मिलकर ये तय किया कि सुभाष बोस हम तीनों के लिए खतरा है, तो इसीलिए इसको खत्म करना चाहिए। और तो सुभाष बोस को कब खत्म किया? 46 में किया, 47 में किया, 48 में किया, 54 में किया। अब उसमें अभी मैं नहीं जाने चाहता हूँ, परंतु इतना ज़रूर है कि सुभाष बोस को साइबेरिया में वहाँ कैंप में इन्होंने भेजा था और वहाँ हो सकता है कि उस ठंड में उसमें गंदे खाने के कारण वहाँ सुभाष बोस मरे या इन्होंने उनको मार दिया। ये नहीं, ये सारी बातें बाद की बात है। और इसके लिए मुझे जब ये येल्सिन आया था गोर्बाचेव के बाद और उन्होंने एक डेमोक्रेटिक सोसाइटी बनाने के लिए ऐलान किया और इलेक्शंस भी कराई, उस येल्सिन के टाइम पर यहाँ जो ये रशियन एम्बेसी में लोग आए रशिया से, वो सब हमारे देश के साथ एक नया रूप में दोस्ती चाहते थे। तो उसमें मैं आपको यहाँ बताना चाहता हूँ कि उसमें एक हैं जो फिर बाद में जाकर एक हाई पोजीशन में थे, वो तो नंबर 2 थे एम्बेसी में। उन्होंने मुझे कहा था कि सुभाष बोस को साइबेरिया में उसकी अंत आई थी। कैसा आई वो बताने के लिए तैयार नहीं था, परंतु उन्होंने कहा कि मेरा नाम कभी नहीं लेना है, और ये है। तो एक तरफ ये है। दूसरा है कि राधा कृष्णन को एक दिन जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने कहा कि क्योंकि वो भी वामपंथी थे, उनको भेजा। उनका बेटा गोपाल भी बहुत वामपंथी है, तो उनको रशिया भेजा, और वहाँ मेरी राय में सुभाष बोस को स्टालिन ने दिखाया, और बातचीत हुई नहीं हुई मैं नहीं जानता, एक कमरे से और इनको एक खिड़की से दिखाया ये मैं नहीं जानता, बट सुभाष ये गए इसीलिए। तो आकर उन्होंने फिर नेहरू को रिपोर्ट किया, और मुझे लगता है कि नेहरू के उसके बाद जो प्रेम हुई थी रशिया के साथ या यूएसएसआर के साथ वो यही है, और उसका पीछे यही है कि सुभाष बोस की जो वास्तविकता है वो उसमें वो पकड़े गए थे। तो ये दूसरी बात ये है कि जहाँ तक ये हमारे जैन हैं श्यामलाल, उन्होंने तो हिम्मत की, उसकी जीवन बहुत खराब की, उसको बड़ी मुश्किल में आखिर में फिर उनका देहांत भी हुई, परंतु उनका रिकॉर्ड में है। वो कहाँ है? एनेक्स में है। किसकी एनेक्स? खोसला कमीशन रिपोर्ट में। कहीं अंदर उस पर कोई टिप्पणी है? कुछ नहीं, जैसे वो था ही नहीं, परंतु क्योंकि वो आकर ये देकर गया तो उन्होंने उसको अपेंडिक्स में डाला, तो आप उसको पढ़ सकते हैं। तो ये दूसरी बात है। तीसरी बात जो आपने कहा कि एटली आए थे भूतपूर्व प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में, और चुनाव हार गए थे, और 45 में तो जीते, और फिर उसके बाद दूसरी इलेक्शन में वो हारे, और उसके बाद 1952 या 53 में वो इंडिया आए थे लेक्चर देने के लिए, और वो लेक्चर की इनविटेशन उस समय की जो चीफ जस्टिस थे उन्होंने वो प्रेसिडेंट भी थे प्रेसिडेंसी कॉलेज के, और एक्टिंग गवर्नर भी थे, तो उनके उस एक्टिंग गवर्नर के नाते उन्होंने उनको एक भाषण देने के लिए कहा। तो भाषण में के बाद क्वेश्चंस आए, और क्वेश्चंस के बाद एक किसी ने सवाल पूछा कि आप तो युद्ध जीत गए और क्विट इंडिया मूवमेंट तो फेल हो गई, सब जानते हैं, और सडनली आप डिसाइड करते हैं कि हम छोड़कर चल रहे हैं। तो क्या महात्मा गांधी की जो नॉन वायलेंस है वो उसकी इतनी प्रभाव हो गई कि आपको शर्म आ गई कि अब आप तो हिंदुस्तान को दबा के नहीं रख सकते, कि क्या किस कारण से आप छोड़कर गए? हम सब लोगों को बड़ा अजीब लगता है कि आप ऐसे छोड़कर चले गए, इतनी जल्दी में भाग के गए। तो क्या बात थी? गांधी के कारण तो आप छोड़कर गए या और कोई कारण था? तो उन्होंने कहा गांधी का कारण बिल्कुल नहीं था, एक ही कारण था, सुभाष चंद्र बोस के जो आईएनए हैं उनके साथ हम मुकाबला नहीं कर सकते थे, तो सुभाष चंद्र बोस के कारण हम छोड़कर गए। अब किसी ने सवाल नहीं पूछा कि सुभाष चंद्र बोस तो मर गए थे, तो हो सकता है एटलीस्ट बता देता कि नहीं वो उसमें नहीं मरे, वो तो सब बनावटी है। और वहाँ ताइवान में नहीं मरे, इसका प्रूफ क्या है कि ताइवान जो पहले जापान के कब्जे में था, वो तो युद्ध हारने के बाद ये अमेरिकन हाथ में आया। तो अमेरिकन हाथ में कब आया? सुभाष चंद्र बोस के बारे कहते हैं कि 18 अगस्त को 1945 को उनकी प्लेन क्रैश हुई थी, और 2 सितंबर को अमेरिका ने ताइवान को अपने कब्जे में ले लिया। तो उनके बाद ये जो मुखर्जी कमीशन थी, उन्होंने एक चिट्ठी लिखा, पहली बार खोसला ने नहीं लिखा, किसी और ने नहीं लिखा, कि अमेरिका से पूछने के लिए भाई आप इंचार्ज थे बाद में, आपको कुछ रिकॉर्ड्स हैं, हॉस्पिटल रिकॉर्ड्स, ऐसा कोई पूछने कोई कुछ शाहनवाज खान की भी यही ऐसे ही रिपोर्ट थी। तो इस पहली बार जस्टिस मुखर्जी कमीशन जो बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट ने 2002 में सेटअप की थी कलकत्ता हाई कोर्ट के आदेश पर, वो उसमें उन्होंने सीआईए को चिट्ठी लिखा और रादर उनके गवर्नमेंट को लिखा, उन्होंने सीआईए को भेजा। तो वहाँ से आया है रिपोर्ट, ये अवेलेबल है, ये पब्लिश्ड है इस कमीशन रिपोर्ट में, मुखर्जी कमीशन रिपोर्ट में। उन्होंने कहा है कि हमने पूरा जांच की है, यहाँ कोई प्लेन क्रैश नहीं हुआ, यहाँ कोई हॉस्पिटल ने कोई जला हुआ मिला नहीं, ये कुछ नहीं, हमारे पास कोई एविडेंस ये है कि ऐसा कुछ हमारे यहाँ हुआ नहीं। तो इससे ज्यादा आपको और क्या साफ खोसला गए थे ताइवान में जाकर पूछने के लिए, खोसला बिल्कुल नहीं गए। क्यों नहीं गए? यही इसी से आपको पता लगता है कि ये सब किस तरीके से इसको यानी दबाने के लिए कोशिश की गई थी। तो इसीलिए मैं ये कहता हूँ कि आज हमें ये बात को भी फिर खुलवाना चाहिए। मुखर्जी कमीशन अपनी पूरा काम नहीं कर सकी क्योंकि वाजपेयी की सरकार हार गई और कांग्रेस सरकार ने उसको सब लपेट के बंद कर दी। तो उसको दोबारा खोलना चाहिए और उस पर जांच होनी चाहिए।
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. I just have one question, Dr. Swamy. What is preventing this government that has been in 8 years and to release the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose files? What was the reason that they need to not release it? What is so confidential?
What is it that is preventing our government from saying that the Chinese have crossed into Indian territory? Obviously, you think there'll be a retaliation. You're worried about the retaliation. Not only about Chinese, but even on this matter. Well, I mean, there are a lot of interests which don't want the truth to come out about Subhash Chandra. After all, it will turn the British, the public of India totally against the British, totally against the Soviets, of course, now the Russians. The Russians have enormous, deep pockets in India. So they're all terrified. And the Americans never liked Subhash Bose because he had met Hitler and he was with the Japanese, and the Americans hated the Japanese of that period. So this would require a Indian attitude towards Subhash Bose, not how can I save my backsides.
And another interesting fact that Netaji's name was made very popular in the South by Unravelling. They were another lion of the South.
That's right. That's right. And you know what Nehru did to him? He put a fake murder charge against him, sent him to jail and ruined his health inside the jail. And no one was ready to come. Only two Tamil Brahmin lawyers came, argued the matter, and he was acquitted after 4 years in jail. By the time he came, his health had collapsed. And Muthuramalingam was the person who made the British realize that they have to leave Tamil Nadu. If you see, before Muthuramalingam, all files that went to the British, now in the British Museum, of the governor of Tamil Nadu, or that was called the Madras Presidency those days, he says that all over India we may have to leave. This is where, as late as 1937-38, he says we have to leave. But Tamil Nadu will be loyal to us because we have managed to create a division between Aryans and Dravidians, which is of course a nonsensical, bogus concept. So it was then they held the elections, and Raja Ramnadu was a stooge of the British. He stood as a candidate, and Muthuramalingam stood against him, and the British had decided to arrest him before he could file his nomination. So at the last minute, when it was half an hour left for the nominations to close, Muthuramalingam Thevar came in a horse, went straight to the place where they had filled out the form, and again ran away. And he never turned up for the elections, and he won by a landslide. And then the British governor writes, "Today I am saying we will not be able to retain Tamil Nadu in case, or rather Madras presidency, in case the rest of India will leave." So this is Muthuramalingam Thevar. And the way they put him, a congressman should be asked this question. Today they want to take his name. But I am saying that what they did to him, and Satyamurthy was with him, but Satyamurthy died much earlier in 1943. So Sardar Patel also passed away quite early. So by the time Muthuramalingam Thevar, this happened to him, there was no one to speak up for him. When I argued that his statue should be put up, Gujral was the prime minister at that time, I.K. Gujral. He asked me, "Who is this Muthuramalingam Thevar? Is he your relative? Why are you so keen on it?" Now I said, first of all, he's not my relative. But second, this is all he did. And his only minus point was that he was with Subhash Bose. And Jawaharlal Nehru targeted him because of that.
Arvind?
Thank you, Dr. Swamy.
डॉक्टर स्वामी, धन्यवाद, आपने इतना विस्तार में सुभाष बोस जी के बारे में बताया. मेरे मन में बहुत सवाल हैं जो मैं समझता हूं कि हमारे इस कार्यक्रम के दर्शकों के मन में भी होंगे. और जैसा जगदीश जी ने बताया कि आज एक विशेष कार्यक्रम का अंक है, और जितनी प्रतिक्रिया आज हमारे दर्शक कर रहे हैं संख्या में, वो अन्य दिनों के मुकाबले कई गुनी अधिक है. इससे हम ये अंदाजा लगा सकते हैं कि नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस जी के बारे में भारतीय जनमानस का कितनी रुचि है और कितना वो प्यार और सम्मान नेताजी को करते हैं. एक कार्यक्रम हमने वर्ड्स ऑफ विजडम ज्ञान गंगा का पिछले वर्ष किया था नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस जी के विषय पे, जिसमें हमने जनरल जीडी बख्शी को भी बुलाया था. और उस कार्यक्रम में कई बातें हुई थी जो आज हमने एक नई परिभाषा देखी, नया ज्ञान हमें प्राप्त हुआ. चंद्र कुमार बोस जी पिछले कार्यक्रम में नहीं आए थे. तो सबसे पहले तो मैं ये जो सवाल मैंने उस समय भी किया था और आज भी करना चाहता हूं, मुझे मौका नहीं मिला, मैं चंद्र कुमार बोस जी से पूछता था. मुझे याद है आपके घर पे उनसे जब मुलाकात हुई थी तब भी मैंने उनसे ये सवाल पूछा था 1 साल पहले, तो वो जवाब नहीं दे पाए थे. जवाब ये है कि सुभाष चंद्र बोस जी की मृत्यु का अंतिम सत्य क्या है. और पिछले कार्यक्रम में आपको भी याद होगा, मैंने एक प्रश्न पूछा था कि अनुज धर ने बहुत सी किताबें लिखी हैं इस विषय के ऊपर, और अनेक भाषाओं में उसका अनुवाद भी हुआ है. सुभाष चंद्र बोस के बारे में एक रहस्य था कि पश्चिम बंगाल में एक शॉलमारी आश्रम था, उसके जो बाबा थे वो नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस कहलाते थे. फैजाबाद
गुनामी बाबा,
शॉलमारी आश्रम अलग था. फिर दूसरा था गुमनामी बाबा जो फैजाबाद में थे. कई वर्षों तक रहे, 84 में 85 में उनकी डेथ हुई. और मुझे याद है ये समाजवादी सरकार थी जब उन्होंने उनका जो खजाना था जो पाया गया था उसके बारे में जांच की भी व्यवस्था की थी जब अखिलेश मुख्यमंत्री थे. और तीसरा एक है, बहुत बड़ी फॉलोइंग उत्तर प्रदेश में है बाबा जय गुरुदेव की, और बाबा जय गुरुदेव के बहुत आश्रम है पूरे उत्तर प्रदेश में. और बाबा जय गुरुदेव का भी एक क्लेम हुआ था कानपुर में, मुझे याद है आज से 40 साल पहले, और कई दिनों तक बिल्डअप हुआ था कि बाबा जय गुरुदेव जो हैं वो सुभाष चंद्र बोस हैं और वो प्रकट होने वाले हैं. तो ये 3 अलग तरह के क्लेम थे. अनुज धर की किताबें हैं, सरकार का वक्तव्य है, आपने जो बताया, जनरल जीडी बख्शी ने जो हमारे पिछले कार्यक्रम में बताया, ये अंतिम सत्य हमारी सरकार कब देगी, और क्या ऑफिशियल, जिसको कह सकते हैं ऑफिशियल वर्जन ऑफ द डेथ ऑफ नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस, विल इट एवर बी रिवील्ड?
It will be revealed. यानी हिंदी में बोलूं या अंग्रेजी में?
Yeah, up to you, because we have bilingual viewers.
All right, let me, because I saw somebody scroll saying I'm from Tamil Nadu, please speak English. See, the thing is this: if you want to know if a government is to give a categorical answer to put the matter at rest, then you will sully the reputation of Jawaharlal Nehru and Mahatma Gandhi also. Mahatma
Why are we
Gandhi,
afraid? Are we afraid
Huh?
of that? Are we afraid of that?
well, so far we have been
In the
afraid.
pursuit of the truth, we can take that risk.
I will tell you that when between me and Chandrasekhar, this was the fight. He said, I will not let you see all the files. I'll give you 3 for that Rinkoji Ash to. But ये तुम आओगे, तुम जवाहरलाल नेहरू का नाम खराब करोगे एंड ऑल दैट, ये सब इतनी प्रतिमा इतनी साल लगती है बनाने के लिए, उसको 5 मिनट में आप उसको ध्वस्त करने चाहते हो. This kind of thing Chandrasekhar said to me. So there were people who felt that, for instance, we know that Dange, who was a communist, was on the payroll of the British. But Govindwala Pant never let it come out in the public, because he was the home minister at that time, because he felt that he will destroy this man. And somehow the impression is that you can hide these things, and truth is not is not a standalone virtue up to now in India. In fact, when I speak and I reveal something, people get angry with me. No, you should privately go and tell the Prime Minister instead of putting it in Twitter and so on. You see, so this this sentiment is responsible for why, according to me, it is very easy for us to say that Subhash Bose was alive, and these are the 5-6 reasons, and that he went to Russia. These are the 5-6 reasons for that, and that he was killed there, and this is the reason for it. And I'm sure that after Putin, if somebody else comes who is not from KGB, you will get the whole picture. In fact, we nearly got it when Yeltsin was there. In Yeltsin's case, at that time, this Alberts, Yevgena Alberts wrote a book, The State Within the State, in which she spoke about all the money that Sonia and Rahul and all had been getting from KGB out of records. And now that's now that Putin has come, he's himself KGB, so he's not going to allow these things to come out. So this is the real problem. And I don't think that unless the government says, here's the document that we are making available, and we don't care whose reputation is sullied by this, and therefore the truth must come out. If that attitude is taken, then only it will be finality. Otherwise, the same thing will continue. Now, as far as Gurnami Baba coming, this thing, according to my whatever files I saw at that time, I saw something about Gurnami Baba. It was actually the brainwork of a then IB chief called Malik.
Malik, yeah.
He was with Jawaharlal Nehru to drive away the focus of Subhash Bose, what's happened to him, is he dead, is he not dead, into no, Subhash Bose is now completely given up, he has no hope, so he's come to live in India and die here as a Baba. And many people swallowed it. And that's why, we can have differences. People don't like my putting the Israelis in the dock. I mean, the Russians in the dock. And so the issue is to hide the fact that what the truth. People uploaded many stories. Jai Gurudev is this thing, that thing. And they last for some time and then they disappear.
ओके, छोटे छोटे 2-3 सवाल हैं जगदीश जी, मुझे परमिशन दीजिए जरा। कि पहला तो जो आपने दामले जी की बात की और जो
हाँ।
खजाना पंडित नेहरू के पास आया था, हमें पता है ये पंडित शब्द भी नेहरू जी के साथ जोड़ना थोड़ा कंट्रोवर्शियल है, और आप इसको कई बार उठा चुके हैं। नेहरू जी कहता हूं मैं, जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी के जो खजाना उनको सौंपा गया था, उस खजाने के बारे में जब ये पता लग गया कि वो खजाना गायब हो गया, तो आप जो सरकार है, आप जब सरकार की जानकारी में ये सब है, तो आप और आप जैसे अन्य लोग या नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस के परिवार के अन्य लोग क्यों नहीं ये प्रयास करते हैं जानने का कि आखिर वो खजाने का क्या हुआ, और क्या वो खजाना यदि किसी के पास गया तो क्या उसकी रिकवरी हम कर सकते हैं भारत सरकार के लिए?
नहीं, किसके पास गया तो वो तो ऑटोमेटिक, वो तो जवाहरलाल नेहरू से इंदिरा गांधी से सोनिया गांधी, इसमें कोई दायरा जो भी उन दिनों में, बाद में इंदिरा गांधी भी साधारण होने बड़े रुद्राक्षर लगाने लगी है, परंतु जब वो जवाहरलाल नेहरू उनके पिताजी जीवित थे तब तो वो महा फैशनदार थी, तो उसमें ये सब पहनती थी, तो इसीलिए हाँ तो बट क्या है कि मैंने मोरारजी देसाई को कहा था कि एफआईआर रजिस्टर करनी चाहिए, तो ये उन्होंने कहा कि अभी मत बोलो, अगला टर्म में बोलो, बट वो तो पहले टर्म में छुट्टी होकर चले गए। So that is the thing. You see, I think the country is afraid to know the truth because they don't want destabilization to take place.
You mean country, you mean the people and the leadership?
Yeah, that's what I mean by that. The today's leadership, more so previous leadership, much less today, they feel that, all this comes out. I see that in Twitter also. People say, why you have to say all this in public? Why don't you go and meet Modi and tell him on his face? Well, I mean, I've done that also, but Modi doesn't care as long as you tell him and nobody else. So I think the issue is more that this transparency is a foreign concept which the British have instilled in our mind, that it is not for you natives. We may have in our country transparency, but not in India. You don't deserve it. So we have to come out of that. Say that whatever the truth must come out. You tell me yourself, when I used to say that Vajpayee drinks alcohol, whiskey all the time, how many people got angry with me? Why are you bringing this out? This is a personal matter. I said, well, on one hand, you're saying there should be prohibition. On the other side, you're saying that you can drink. How can you have both? It's a hypocrisy. So you have witnessed it. So I think this is a mental attitude the Americans have. Americans, they don't care. If somebody has gone outside their concept of cultural system, they are brutal. They will go after. Nixon, after all, what did he do? I mean, he just sent some burglars into another party's office, and he lost his presidentship. Can you imagine that in India? We have not yet
He'll give
come
Bharat
to that.
Ratna, Dr. Swamy.
Huh?
He'll be given
What?
Bharat Ratna. Like one prime minister gave himself.
Yes, that's right.
Dr. Swamy, Prime Minister Modi has promised the declassification of documents related
He has
to...
not declassified. There are 71 very, very sensitive thing which will cause a riot in India, I'm telling you, if it comes out.
And Dr. Swamy,
yes.
Chandra Bose also mentioned in our program just now that he is not satisfied. He put it in very diplomatic language that all the files have not been declassified.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
That
So
can't be, because
it's a question for all of us to ponder, even in today's time when we claim that we have a nationalist government, a majority government, why are still the files not declassified?
Well, I mean, what can I once say except to say that don't be idealistic. That's all I can say to you.
But Dr. Swamy, just to take a lesson from history, after Germany, that nation accepted the brutality of Adolf Hitler and they disclosed everything. And they actually became a better nation by disclosing the truth. People
That is the
respected
truth.
a nation when they disclosed the truth of the
That's right.
atrocities. And they said, yes, we are sorry.
That's right. I agree. I agree with you. And but of course, we also have to appreciate the Nuremberg trials, which really was not German. In fact, till the Nuremberg trials, the Germans couldn't even believe there was a gas chamber in Germany. It's only after the Nuremberg trials that the Germans said this is too much. And I will say our country also, the common people will accept it. It's only the anglicized, westernized people who run the establishment who don't want to do it. You take, for example, the 1977 election. Do you think the educated people voted Mrs. Gandhi out? They, in fact, voted for her.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
It is the illiterate masses of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar and they wiped her out. They even defeated her. It's unthinkable.
But Dr. Swamy, even in modern times, even if you look at, to some extent, even the 2G scam that you broke, people accepted it, right? Basically saying that, you know what?
Yeah, that's
so
right.
It is a shocking
I agree with you. But the problem is this kind of attitude is not with the leadership. It is don't disturb, don't rock the boat. Don't rock the boat. You're saying that even today when I'm speaking, people are worried that I might rock the boat and the BJP may break into 2 or 3. This is the fear. Not that this is a value which you must uphold. But it's coming. Slowly it'll come. We are much better than what we were with 40 years ago.
Netrutva has become Nerutva.
Dr. Swamy, what do you say about the amendment of the wordings of Jana Gana Mana, which was actually original given by Subhash Chandra Bose with different wordings?
No, the Jana Gana Mana was of Tagore, but the wordings, definitely. I have said it many times in Twitter also. I've written a letter to Modi also, saying that the words that were put together by Subhash Chandra Bose is the one. When you read it, you feel immediately, wow, we must have this as the... but even that is not... Even today's adoration for Subhash Chandra Bose was not there when I was a student. We thought that he is some kind of stooge of Hitler, and this is the kind of thing that used to go around.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Swamy, by
the way, just I would add to you one thing. Several of Subhash Chandra Bose's relatives are pro-left, in fact, pro-Russian. So if any member of the Subhash Chandra Bose family tomorrow say, no, he died in Taiwan, then be sure that is because of their influence, their being for. And I would include some very close people. I won't name them here. It's not necessary. It's not an issue. But anyone who comes with this theory, which is other than the Russian thing, according to me, is doing it at the bidding of Russians.
So family is divided on this issue.
Not the family in Bengal, but the family in Germany.
Okay, one more thing that Chandra Kumar Bose said, I'll just take 1 minute. He said that Netaji had unfurled a Indian flag on 14th April 1944 in Manipur.
Yes.
And some people suggested in our comment box also, I was reading, that why not observe 14th April 1944 as the day of the independence instead of
No,
15th
Day of
August
Independence. No,
1947?
Day of Independence is 21st October 1943, when he formally declared that this is the independent nation of India. The other one was where he unfurled the flag.
Yes.
So no, but the original, he had a ceremony also in Andamans,
Yes.
but that we don't include because he didn't declare there. He just said that it has been liberated.
Right.
Before Arvind Chaturvedi winds up, Dr. Swamy, with your
Yes.
consent, I just want to share, make an observation. It has been noted in numerous books by a lot of authors that some of the precious jewels or necklaces which were part of the collections of or donations given to our Netaji was
Yes.
sometime traced to the close family of Nehru and their successors, and many mentions are there. Some talking about Padmaja Naidu noticing it, it's somebody from the Nehru family having it, and they trace the origin to this box. So it is not that, these people, some of those people who are in power were chindi chores, that what was donated to the INA and to so Netaji's leadership, some personal family members of those who are in power had even stolen it, and it is part of the legacy they are continuing. So the government also must pay attention to this.
Well, I'll tell you some one anecdote, not a long one because we are really pushing the clock. Jawaharlal Nehru gave one of the most special diamond rings from that to Padmaja Naidu. I think you people know or don't know that Padmaja Naidu was the daughter of
Sarojini Naidu.
Sarojini Naidu, but she was also, shall I put it diplomatically, very close friend of Jawaharlal Nehru. So she, towards the end of her life, she started staying with Indira Gandhi in one Safdarjung Road. And then when she died, Sonia Gandhi insisted on washing her body and wrapping her up in the in a new sari and all that. And then she was taken for cremation. Now, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, who had her eye on this diamond ring, and our brother didn't give it to her, knew that he had given to her. So she came making an issue. Where is that ring? And she wrote a letter to Indira Gandhi also. And that letter is available with some difficulty. So what had happened? It had gone into Madame Sonia Gandhi's hand. That is why she wanted to bathe her.
Okay, Arvind, we have exceeded our time. Please go ahead.
Absolutely. Yes. In fact, we knew the moment this program was announced and the kind of interest was shown by our viewers that this program, there will be a lot of issues. And unraveling the truth about Netaji, we have also unraveled some truth about Nehruji in this program. Coincidentally, there were two suggestions. I thought I'll just mention it, bring it to notice of Dr. Swamy. One is that some viewers have suggested, in fact, this has been a long pending demand, that Netaji's photo should be there on the currency notes in India. And this issue of replacing Mahatma Gandhi or not replacing Mahatma Gandhi, also having one series of currency notes where Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's photo could be there. That is also one of the major demand, and that also we could consider. And some of the people can take it up with the government and should be done. Of course, Modi ji has inaugurated today the copy of the, not copy actually, the one form of the statue of Netaji on the India Gate, and it will be installed subsequently. That's a good thing. And unlike Mahatma Gandhi, where some people have opposed to Mahatma Gandhi, some people favor Mahatma Gandhi, I have yet to see an Indian who opposes Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Any ideology of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, cutting across the state, caste, religion, everything, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose is number one idol and the freedom movement initiator for Indians.
Yeah.
Great tribute to him. Thank you, Dr. Swamy. You have been writing about these issues. You have been speaking about these issues. You have raised these issues with the government also. In several forums, you have brought it forward. And it is now time for government to act. Thank you, Ramesh Swamy ji. Thank Jagdish ji. Thank you, Ashish Shetty, the technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Gadgi Rakesh, Ishwar Iyer, Tejas, Swaminathan, Vishal Mehta, Najesh Nair. This program is longest in the history of Words of Wisdom Gyan Ganga, and it is a fitting tribute on 125th anniversary of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Rightly or wrongly, he is not given any title like Mahatma Gandhi was called Rashtrapita. In fact, Bose deserved much more than a Rashtrapita, if there was any Rashtrapita. But in fact, this has been a controversy of late. Some people have been also prosecuted by criticizing Mahatma Gandhi. This is not our purpose. Our purpose is to recognize the contribution of leaders such as Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Thank you very much. We will be meeting again next Sunday, 8 p.m. Like other programs, and with a new topic, and our mentor, Dr. Subramanian Swamy, and another speakers. Thank you very much. We will be meeting next Sunday, 8 p.m. Till then, Namaskar, Jai Hind.
Jai
Next
Hind.
week, next week is Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes.
Yeah, next week, 30th January.
Thank you.
Assassination.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Namaskar.